Are you ready to turn heads? Luxury isn't just worn, it's experienced. Introducing a Layla Carroll style and new up-and-coming designer collection where exclusive shoes and bags for men and women meets your feet. How about you take a handbag and wear it in style, where each piece is personally designed by Layla Carroll herself and handcrafted from the finest material in Italy. Leather, smooth like butter, bold, timeless, distinctly you. Step into true elegance and make your mark with a Layla Carroll style where confidence meets craftsmanship. Visit a Layla Carroll style and experience the luxury of art that you wear. It's complicated. I don't know what kind of relationship I have right now. All I know is that I have someone. I think I do. Maybe. Well, I guess. I'm not sure. Well, we have been seeing each other for a while. It's complicated. If that is you, then you're not in a relationship. You should know who you are with, and they should know it too. So if they're not sure and you're not sure, then you're not in a relationship. Fourth and fifth date conversation, emotional maturity, communication, and conflict style. This episode helps you determine whether someone is capable of being in a healthy relationship and suitable relationship with you, not just an exciting one. Welcome back to Improving Your Thoughts by Freeing Yourself. I'm your host, Layla Carroll. This season, we've been learning how to date properly with patience, wisdom, and awareness. So far, we've talked about red flags in behavior. The way people act, you should pay attention to it because there could be some red flags in that. We've talked about doing background checks wisely without looking like a stalker. We've talked about detecting lies. Even the smallest lies matter. We've talked about protecting your finances, not allowing them to know how much you make right off the bat, and not sharing your assets so soon. We've talked about recognizing charmers, although charmers can be a natural thing for some people, but a lot of people use charm for manipulation. We also talked about why family and friends can sometimes see things you miss because they are not the one dating your partner. You are. They're not emotionally involved or invested into your mate. And we've talked about what to talk about on the first, second, and third date. Each step has been about helping you slow down and observe. Yeah, that's what we've been doing this whole time. Because healthy relationships are not built through rushing. And I am teaching you to start taking your time. They're built on learning who someone truly is over time. Today, we're moving to the fourth and the fifth dates. We're going to combine them together. By this stage, a connection may be growing. You might be like all googly eyes, goo goo gaga over each other, like, yes, this is the one. Yes, you may feel more comfortable. You may be laughing more easily with them. You may even be imagining what a relationship with this person could look like. I mean, you're like all over heels right now. But this is exactly when you need to stay observant. The fourth and fifth dates are where you begin exploring something extremely important: emotional maturity. Communication style, conflict resolution, because relationships are not defined by how people act when everything is perfect. Relationships are defined by how people handle challenges. Yes, that's what you're looking for. So, I have a bonus episode for you guys about knowing a person in all four seasons, because it helps you to figure out the maturity of the person that you're with. And are you able to deal with it? And deal with the different personalities they might have, able to deal with their emotions in different type of season of their lives. So I want you to stick around for that bonus episode, and it's coming up on the 4th. I have three more episodes. So after this one here, I have 3 more episodes. That third episode, the last one, is the one I'm talking about. Okay, so today we're talking about conversations that reveal emotional maturity, how someone communicates when discussing sensitive topics. And we're talking about how to identify healthy and unhealthy conflict patterns, okay? So let's begin. We're going to start off by talking about why emotional maturity matters. Many relationships begins with strong chemistry. It's that, oh my God, I can't wait to see them again feeling. I can't wait to talk to them again. I can't wait to see and touch them and smell them. That type of feeling. That's that chemistry. The conversation flows easily. The attraction feels exciting. But chemistry alone does not sustain a relationship. What sustains relationships are emotional maturity. Emotional maturity shows up in several ways. The ways that they show up are taking responsibility when making mistakes. So they take responsibility for their mistakes. They don't make excuses for it. They take the responsibility for it. It also shows up with communicating, when communicating feels clear to you and clear to them. They have to be able to feel like they can communicate with you clearly. And it also vice versa with you too. It also shows up with managing frustration without aggression. Someone should never be frustrated and be throwing things against the wall, punching holes in walls, or just ready to fight. That is not emotional maturity at all. Okay? And it shows up with respecting boundaries as well as being willing to grow. Someone can be charming, attractive, and fun, but if they lack emotional maturity, relationships, with them often become stressful and unstable. That's when you get that. It's complicated. Yeah, that's when you get that going on. All right. So for the 4th and the 5th date,
we'll be back after a quick break.
If you haven't already, check out my luxury shoe and bag collection, a Layla Carroll style. Each piece is personally designed by me and handcrafted from genuine Italian leather. Whether you're dressing up or keeping it casual, these pieces were made to help you walk with confidence. Because real style starts from how you feel. Go to AlaylaCarrollStyle.com and experience these bold, timeless, and completely all you. Check it out. You might find something you like. What you want to understand is that you are where you started from. And what I'm saying here is that you're in a place where you need to be paying more close attention to how they are handling their emotions. That's where you are. That's why I say you're where you started from. You was already paying attention to them on the very first date because you want to know, can I be with this person? Am I comfortable with this person? And one of the best ways to see how they handle emotional maturity is through thoughtful conversations. You don't have to wait until they're in a situation to see how they act. You need to just talk about it. Have a conversation that matters to you and go from there. So, like, for example, when I first found out about my first husband emotional maturity levels, I was already in the thick of things. That's why I'm doing this podcast, because I want to help you guys not be so deep into a relationship to find out the truth about a person. So my first husband, what ended up happening with him and I was that I used to like to go out. I said this quite a few times in a lot of my other podcasts. And here it is. I met him in a club, so he knew that I enjoy going out. I thought he liked going out too, but come to find out, at that particular time, he was not the going out type. He just happened to be at the club that particular day because he was visiting with friends, and that's what they did. But come to find out later on that that wasn't his thing. Now it is. Now he goes out way more than I do. It's funny how things just flipped around, because I always said to him, if you would have just waited a little longer, you would have found out that you and I could have been going out together a whole lot more. But hey, things is what it is. So when me and him got into our first fight or argument, or whatever you want to call it, I remember telling him earlier in the week that I was going to go out with my friends. He didn't really say much about it. He let it be. But when the time came and I started getting dressed, before that night came for me to get dressed, during the day we was having a great day. Everything was going smoothly. We was laughing and going on. But by the time it was time for me to get dressed and I started getting up to get dressed, I noticed a shift in his attitude, how he started acting. He wasn't saying much anymore. And I remember I got dressed and I was ready to go. And I say, how do I look? And he's like, And I was like, what's wrong with you? I'm asking the question, how do I look? I was like, is not an answer. So I can feel his energy change. Instead of just saying, hey, I don't want you to go, I'd rather you stay here with me, he didn't do that. So I left and I went out. And then when I came back, he had an attitude. He didn't want me to touch him or nothing. And usually during that time when I go out and come back, I'm ready to get kinky and stuff, have some fun with him. He didn't want me touching him. He started acting all, nonchalant, don't touch me, that kind of stuff. So it kind of put me in a funky mood. And I'm thinking like, okay, I know how I was back then. I usually will let you stay in your feelings. If you mad, stay mad. I'm going to go ahead and have a good time. And I'm not going to be dwelling in this situation with you. You either going to talk, speak up, and tell me how you feel, or you're going to be in your feelings, because that's what it was back then. Now, I try to be more sensitive to you because I've grown. And I realized that I can't be cold like that, because I was really kind of cold in that way. And I had to take accountability because I know that I was. But at that time, I just didn't care. It was like, hey, you're a grown man. You should be all right. Deal with it. Now I'm like, men have feelings too. I know that now because I had to watch a lot of the people that I've known grow up and be still in their feelings and have feelings about who they are, what's going on in their life. And these are men that's in my life that I have to witness and say, well, they feel the same like us women. They just hide theirs. Us women, we are outspoken with ours. Some of us, not all of us, but most of us, yeah. So this is what I'm saying. You have to understand, who are you dealing with? Do this person pout, have a temper tantrum when they all in their feelings or whatever, or do they really talk to you? Do they sit down and have a dialogue with you and make you feel special enough to respect you, to talk to you? All right. So let's continue. Let's talk about conversations about communication style, the way people communicate. So I remember in the last episode, I was talking about I have a problem with people being aggressive when they talk, because their tone could seem harsh, and they may not mean harm about it or anything, but sometimes it can feel like the energy just coming from them is too strong. And then you got some people who are very quiet and meek, and they don't talk a lot, so they talk real soft as though they're kind of whispering, and you're like, what are you saying? Especially if they're mumbling under their breath, and you know they said something, and you want to know what they said, and they don't want to say it out loud for you to hear, but they said it loud enough that you heard something. That's disrespectful. It's like, come on now, don't do that. Just say what you want to say. All right, so one helpful topic during these dating that you're doing is how someone communicate in relationships. That's very important. You might ask something like, let's say you want to talk to the person and I will tell you now, when you're on your dates, ask these questions. If you don't remember them, write them down so you can review them later, okay? So here's one question you can ask to kind of figure out what the communication style is. You will say, what do you think make communication work well in a relationship? Okay, so listen closely to what they tell you. This question reveals how they view connection and understanding. Some people might say being honest or listening to each other. You're going to hear that quite naturally. Someone is going to say that because it's the right thing to say. But the thing is that you need to test this theory to see if they are honest and do they listen. Because they might not. And they want from you what they are not willing to give to you. Because a lot of people want from you what they are not willing to give themselves, and get mad at you for not giving it to them. But then when it's supposed to be reciprocated, they don't do it. And then when you bring it up to them, they have a problem. And they start being like, well, I can do that, but you can't. Or it's almost like a person who steals something and then get mad when someone steals something from them. It's like, how do you go around stealing from people, but then when a person steals from you mad? No, it doesn't work that way. If you don't want no one stealing from you, then don't steal from them. It's the same thing. Do unto others as you want others to do to you. All right? So others might focus on avoiding conflict completely. But here's something important I need you to know and to remember. Avoiding conversations is not the same as healthy communication. All right? Certain conversations must be had. You have to talk about it. If you don't talk about it, it will fester, it will linger, and it will manifest itself in another way. And usually that's when you get your partner cheating on you, or you cheating on them, because communication is so important to where if you two do not talk it out and get an understanding with a resolution, then you end up stepping out of the relationship with someone else. or they do the same. And it's not about how pretty the person look. It's not about how much money they have. It's about the feeling that they get when they're with that person. I get the opportunity to release myself in a way that I don't get to do with you. And you don't want that. So communication is very important. You have to figure out what kind of communication style this person has. Healthy communication means expressing feelings respectfully. It also means listening without interruption. Don't interrupt while they're talking. It also means being open to feedback, because you should be able to be critiqued. All right? No one is perfect. We all have some bacon that we still need done to us. We still need to be baked a little longer, need to stay in the oven just a little longer to mature and to be ready. It's a metaphor I like to use when I be telling people, hey, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. I still got some cooking to do. I'm still baking in this oven. Okay, so basically be patient with each other and be willing to take honest criticism or feedback. I like to say feedback instead of criticism, because criticism make you feel like you should, like they're picking on you, and that's not always the case. Okay, another useful conversation that you should have, and you should ask this question too: how do you usually handle misunderstanding with someone you care about? Because that is one of the biggest reasons why people fight and why people get into these conflicts and be arguing with each other. And it's a misunderstanding, something that could be resolved by actually explaining and the other person listening to it. And if they can't understand what the person is explaining, ask questions. And then the person who is having the question asked, listen to the question and then answer the question. Don't ask a question with a question. Just answer the question and answer it honestly, no matter what the outcome may be. Be honest. That will help you in the misunderstanding. Also, the problem with that is when a person is found to have made a mistake, when they don't know how to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It was a misunderstanding. I shouldn't have went off on you like that. I should have at least got my facts together. Taking accountability for their wrongdoing, okay? And what this question reveals, it can reveal a lot. Emotional, mature people often say things like, I try to talk things through calmly. All right. But someone who struggles with communication might say, I usually just walk away. Or I don't like talking about problems. While space can be healthy, constant avoidance often leads to unresolved issues. And unresolved issues usually lead to infidelity in the relationship or divorce if you're married. All right? Got to resolve the issues. It's going to be a challenge. It's not going to be easy. You're going to deal with these issues no matter if you want to or not. It's going to be there waiting for you to deal with it. You're either going to deal with it in this lifetime or you're going to deal with it in your next lifetime, in your next relationship. If you even get into another relationship, you're going to have to deal with these conflicts, because this is something that you have to learn how to do, how to communicate. You got to learn to communicate, all right? So let's move on. Let's talk about conversations about conflicts, all right? Every relationship experience conflict. There's no way around it. If someone says if you have a person who's in a relationship with someone, they said we never had an argument, we never had a disagreement, we just never had any type of conflict, then they haven't been together long enough, because every relationship is going to experience it. I remember, like, with my husband, me and him, when we first started dating, we didn't have much of any problems, conflict in the beginning. But all my experience of being in a relationship with anybody and being married twice, I already knew that a conflict was going to show up. It is bound to show up. So, my husband and I, before we got married, we did marriage counseling. And the marriage counseling was over fixing the problem before it starts. That's what it was about. And learning how to resolve conflicts in a mature and healthy way. And I remember us going through our counseling sessions together, and I said to myself, I wish I would have done this with my last marriage. I wish I would have done this with the marriage before that. But I'm so happy that I'm doing this now with this marriage. It helped a whole lot, because now when my husband and I, when we are not agreeing on something, my husband asks a question. One of the questions he asked me, and I love that he asks these questions when he is not happy about something. He asked me, am I being fair? Am I wrong for how I'm feeling? And then I get to soften up and I tell him, if I feel like he have every right to feel the way he do, I tell him, no, baby, you're not wrong. You are literally right in how you're feeling. You are supposed to feel a certain way. If you don't feel mad about this, then something's wrong. Now, what can we do about it? And then vice versa, even with me, like when I am feeling a certain way, he'll tell me, I don't like when you like this. I need you to be my rock and come back to my balance. You're my balance. Now that could be a good thing and a bad thing, because I have weak moments too, and I tell him that I need you to allow me to go off sometimes. He's like, yeah, and I do that. But sometimes it scares me. And I understand that, because I am so calm now to where I don't have those moments like I used to back then when I was married to my ex and everything. I don't have that where I want to just break things, or I never really stormed out the door and ran out or whatever. I never was that person. My exes was the one to do that did all those things. But I would be very, very closed mouth. Like I won't talk. And I will be so still about how I feel, and you can see it all in my face and frustrated. And I used to write letters just so I can express myself. Now I don't do all that. Now I just tell you, hey, I'm not happy. I'm not in a good mood. And this is why. Now, what do I need? This is what I need. I will feel better. Give me this space, this time. I will feel better. Or I need to talk to you. Let me talk to you about what's going on. But that's how I learned to deal with conflict. It's about actually talking, not yelling, not screaming, not disrespecting, just talking. It don't always be pleasant. It don't feel good all the time, but I get the opportunity to speak my mind. And that's what you want. You want to be able to speak your mind, all right? So, disagreements are normal. I need you to know that. It is very, very normal. You're not going to agree on everything. The real question is not whether conflict will happen, but how it will be handled when it happens. That is what you want to deal with. By the fourth or the fifth date, it's reasonable to discuss this in such a way that makes you comfortable to do it. Okay, you want to start discussing certain things, and I'm going to tell you some of the things that you should be discussing, some of the questions that you should ask on the fourth or the fifth one. But make sure that you do get around to doing this, all right? So, what you want to ask, what do you think is the healthiest way to handle disagreement in a relationship? I feel like that is a very good question to ask your date. Get the answer. See how they respond to that question. Because that's going to help you. What it's going to do is that this question is going to reveal emotional awareness. Some people might talk about, let's say your date might say something like, listening to each other. That is so cliche, but it's the truth. But people say it because of the fact that they know that's the right thing to say. So you want to see, do this person listen to you? Have they been listening to you? And if they gotten into their feelings about anything, were they still listening to you while they was in their feelings? They might even say something like, staying calm. That's actually an art and a skill that you must practice. Everyone can't stay calm when things are not going well. And it might say something like finding solutions together. That's me. I like to find solutions together so that way we can resolve the issue and move on. I don't like lingering problems. I cannot stand a problem that's been around too long. We need this problem to go away. And it's time to figure out what to do to get this problem to go away. Okay? So others might reveal warning signs. For example, someone might say, I hate arguments, so I usually just shut down. If a person tell you that they shut down, you need to ask them, why are you shutting down? Are you afraid? Or did something happen to you that kept you from being able to speak your mind? Because I need to know, can we be in a safe place where we can actually talk? Because I am a communicator and I can't have you shutting down on me. That will hurt me if you shut down. And that will help them to understand that I can't shut down anymore. Now I got to practice talking and be patient with them because of the fact that if a person shuts down, they might have dealt with some trauma in their life. Now, this is where you can talk about trauma. Remember I said don't talk about it on the first day. Wait until you get to a certain point where you can talk about it. That's where we at. Now you can ask, did something happen to you that made you to where you can't talk about your feelings? Because they might say, yeah, my ex used to always, do X, Y, and Z, or my parents when I was growing up. You get these backstories that give you an opportunity to see who the person is and what you're going to be facing in the future if you continue with them. Or something they might say to you, I just say what I feel and people just have to deal with it. Yeah, my mom was like that. And she could say some mean things sometimes. And I'm like, now I've gotten to a point where I know how to handle her to where I would, in the moment, would shut her down in the moment. I don't let it linger and then come back and try to talk about it. Because one thing I learned about my mother is that if you don't tell her in the moment, she's going to act like it didn't happen when you come back to her later. So you have to catch her in the moment. It's even been times, matter of fact, our last situation that we had, she had the nerve to say she didn't say something when I knew she said something in the moment, and I had her recorded. So I had to tell her, Mama, I recorded you. You did say this, and I will replay this recording so you can hear yourself. And when she got a chance to hear herself, she was like, well, okay. All right, I should have to record you to get you to know that this is what you have said to me, and I think it's hurtful and I don't like it, So now our relationship has gotten so much better now that she's with her sister, and I'm around her a little bit more, and I've been talking to her more on the phone, like I talked to her today and everything, and her conversations are more pleasant to talk to. And I knew she needed to get out of the environment she was in to get to the environment she's at now, to see that I will be around. So things are working out better to where I'm getting the respect that I actually have been trying to get from her, instead of this I'm gonna say what I want to say and people just have to deal with it type of attitude. Yeah, because these answers may indicate difficulty managing emotional conflicts and managing their emotions during a conflict. And that's when you start getting the name calling and the disrespect that comes out of their mouth. Yeah, that's not good. Healthy relationship conflicts resolves, and the resolution that it resolves, it comes with respect, patience, as well as problem solving. You must have those three components for you to know that you are having a healthy conflict resolution. All right? These three must be involved. It must be the respect still present, patience must be present, and problem solving. Can't just talk about it and not solve the problem. Let's figure out what we're going to do about this problem. Another helpful question that you can ask is, what's something you've learned in your past relationship? Now, this is how you can tell if the person take accountability for the things that they did in a relationship, for their part in their last relationships going wrong. Because like I said before, everyone is accountable for things that happen in their relationship. Whether it's 90% of the time or 10%, you're going to have to figure out what role did you play in that relationship not going well. This question often reveals whether someone has grown or whether they continue repeating unhealthy patterns. So, now we're going to talk about observing emotional reactions. Beyond communication and beyond conversations, these dates are also an opportunity to observe real emotional reactions. I remember my second husband when he was talking about when we was in San Francisco. I remember out there in San Fran, and we was walking across one of the, a highway to go get some, not a highway, but like a busy street to go and get something to eat. And he was telling me about something that happened to him when he was a teenager. And he was talking about how his dad took his sister's side and didn't even try to hear him out. And he was so mad because he didn't get a chance to express himself and feel welcome in the home, because his dad had remarried and had children with his wife, and he was the only child of his mother and everything, so he felt like an outcast. And I remember him saying to me, he was, the way he was expressing it and how he was talking, it was almost like it just happened within an hour. He was mad. And I was like, why is he so mad? And I remember asking him, I said, how long did this happen? He said, 15 years ago. I said, 15 years ago? And you talk about it like it just happened. You need to deal with that. That's emotional baggage and anger that got to be resolved, or we're going to have some real serious problems. And come to find out, we really did. We had some real serious problems because he didn't know how to let go. He didn't know how to forgive and move on. And those are the things that I'm talking about right here. Watch how someone responds to small situations. For example, if plans change unexpectedly, how well do they handle that? Do they become irritated or do they adapt calmly? Because things do happen. If a disagreement arises during the conversation? Do they become defensive? Ooh, please pay attention to that, because if they become defensive, you dealing with a person who can't handle conflict. Or do they listen thoughtfully? Emotionally mature people do not need to win every discussion. They value understanding. Another thing to observe is how they respond to your boundaries. I've talked about boundaries so many times, and that is a way you can know if you're able to be involved with this person or not. If you say you're not comfortable with something, do they respect it, or do they pressure you? Respect for boundaries is a major sign of emotional health. Healthy partner, your partner should care about your comfort. That is a must. If they do not care about you being comfortable, please do not continue dating them. Move on. That's the end of your dating with them. That's it. No more. Not even a conversation over the phone. It's time to let it go. Because you're really going to be dealing with a narcissist at this point now. So now we're going to talk about signs of emotional maturity versus immaturity. All right, I'm going to give you some signs to look out for, right? You're going to measure your partner based on some of these things here. By the fourth and fifth date, you may begin noticing patterns. Signs of emotional maturity includes taking responsibility for mistakes, listening carefully during conversations, respecting differences in opinions, remaining calm during frustration. Okay? They must remain calm during frustration. Now, signs of emotional immaturity may include blaming others for everything, becoming defensive quickly, also refusing to discuss problems, and using sarcasm or insults during disagreement. Yeah, that's a problem. That's very immature. These patterns are important because emotional maturity determines whether a relationship will feel safe and supported or stressful and exhausting. So that's why it should never be complicated, all right? So after the date, what happens after your fourth and your fifth date? You already know you need to reflect. So reflecting after the fourth and fifth dates, after these dates, take a moment to reflect. You're going to ask yourself these questions, and then you're going to answer them. You're going to ask yourself, how does this person handle emotion? How do they handle their emotions? You're going to ask yourself, do they communicate openly or do they shut down? You're going to ask yourself, do they respect my boundaries? Because that is so important, okay? Your boundaries are very important because it lets you know that they want you to be comfortable. And then you're going to ask yourself, do they handle disagreement calmly? All right? These observations helps you determine whether someone is capable of building a healthy relationship. All right? So, in the next episode, we're going to move even deeper into compatibility. We'll be talking about the 6 through the 8 date conversation, and that is going to include family dynamics, financial attitudes. This is when we're going to talk about money, all right? Financial attitudes. I know you probably was thinking, but you got to talk about money, though. Yeah, it's a time when you talk about money. And this is the time during the 6 and 7 and 8 date. One of those days, you must talk about the financial attitudes. And then we're going to talk about lifestyle compatibility. These topics reveal whether two people can truly build a life together. All right. So thank you for joining me today on Improving Your Thoughts by Freeing Yourself. And remember, a strong relationship is built not just on attraction, but on emotional maturity and respectful conversation. Communication is the key. I'll see you next time in the next episode. Signing out of Layla. Are you feeling overwhelmed and exhausted by stress? Introducing Stress Management with Imaging Coaching, your ticket to a calmer, more balanced life. In this journey you will be taking with us here at Imaging Coaching, we'll equip you with powerful techniques and tools you can use to conquer stress, control, and transform your life. From deep breathing exercises to mindfulness practices, you'll discover the tools to relax your mind and body. Come join us on this transformative path and unlock a world of inner peace and resilience. Don't let stress hold you back any longer. Take charge of your well-being today with Imaging Coaching, your stress management team. Discover clarity. Defeat stress through Imaging Coaching at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com.